Hi, hello, and welcome to the People It Takes podcast, the first ever official episode of the People It Takes. I am your host, Lauryn Squyres, cast member, Disney College Program alumni, college student currently, and lover of all things Disney. Truth be told, I never thought this would be a real thing. Never thought we would make it this far, but here we are. We will see how it goes. I've got Agave with me here today. You may or may not know me from Instagram. If you do, hey, welcome. So glad you're here. So glad you've transferred over into this podcast world. Agave, for those of you who do not know, is my bearded dragon, so she's just gonna chill with me, distract me from the camera, because this is a lot different than vlogging. We're just getting used to this, and she is already on the move. I'm gonna let her do her thing. Anyway, welcome! I'm so happy you're here. Wow! If you have listened to the trailer, you already know this is a place where we're gonna have real conversations with cast members. Good and bad stories, not conversations. We're gonna have great conversations and so many laughs, and I cannot wait. But for now, that includes myself. I am a cast member, and today I thought it would be good if you guys got to know a little bit about the cast member that you're listening to, who's gonna be running this thing. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm basically just going to start by answering questions that I'm going to be asking other cast members. So, where my Disney journey began. I started with the Walt Disney Company in 2022 on the Disney College Program. I applied in January of 2022. I was accepted, I think, early February. It was the end of January, early February, and by May, I moved to Orlando, Florida. I never dreamed that that's where my life would take me while still in college. My program went from May till January of 2023. January of 2023, I was hired seasonally, which is what I am now while I'm finishing college at Arizona State University. How I got here is, you might know me from Instagram as Disneyland Lauren. Or even YouTube. I have a much smaller YouTube, but my YouTube is Soarin' with Lauren. So if you're from there, hey, hi, how's it going? Thank you for supporting and being here. I started making content at the beginning of my program, not to become a content creator, but in order to be able to keep the memories that I was making along the way, and also show my family back home and have them to look back on in a fun way. And before I knew it, it took off, and that's how we got here. If someone had told me 2 years ago that I would have a podcast, I would have fallen over. That's just never something I thought it would be my thing, but here we are. Also, welcome to my room. I thought there was no better place to start this and to show my true character than in my personal calming space, which is here. Obviously, I have a small love for Disney, as one should if they work there, you know. I promise the whole area isn't all Disney, like this much Disney, but this is like my happy place, and Disney is my happy place. So, right above me, I've got my Disney 100 celebration cast member pin. It did not come framed. We received them in the mail with the poster and the pin, the name tag, and I got it framed. I really wanted to get it nicely framed because that's such a big achievement to me. Like, for me personally, the dreams to work at Disney, and now I was part of their 100 years. I was part of Disney World's 50th celebration. That was the year I was there. Was 2022, the most magical celebration on earth, which was such a blessing as well. And to have carried that into their 100 years of Disney as a company, just crazy. So I am proud of that. I'm very proud of that. So, going over my role, I am a PhotoPass photographer. I was assigned the role of PhotoPass when I got accepted into the Disney College Program. And my home park is Hollywood Studios, which honestly I was so bummed out about at the beginning. I wasn't like that upset. I think it was my second choice. It was my second choice. I really wanted Magic Kingdom because I had only been to Disney World once the year before I applied. I thought that Magic Kingdom was the closest thing to Disneyland, which is what I grew up on. And Disneyland is my favorite place to this day, my favorite park. And I am now so glad I did not get Magic Kingdom because Magic Kingdom now is one of my least favorite parks. I could get into that. I'll save that for another episode. But little did I know, only because I was Hollywood Studios as my home park, was I able to work my way into Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars, which was like the biggest, craziest thing to me. We grew up watching Star Wars with my dad. My dad got us hooked on it. In our family room on Friday nights, we would do sleeping bag nights. We would all sleep in our family room and pick out a movie, and 9 out of 10 times it would be something like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones. In that room, he had 4 Star Wars posters from when they came out, and that was always so cool to me. So I love Star Wars, big part of my childhood. So to be able to work there, pretty cool. At the time, only select photographers would be able to work in Galaxy's Edge because it was just more training you had to learn, and they expected more of you in that area of the park. So I wasn't sure that even as a college program participant, which we call CPs, so I wasn't sure as a CP during my CP that I would be able to make it into Star Wars, into Galaxy's Edge. I started in June. It was hot, very hot, and by July, I was asked to be a part of the Galaxy's Edge team, which was like one of the best days of my college program. That was such a good day. I honestly thought I was in trouble. We had our morning meeting, and then at the end of the meeting, one of my leaders asked if they could talk to me to the side, and I was like, oh no. I was already feeling kind of down that day, and I was like shaking. And then he said, how would you like to be a part of our Galaxy's Edge team? And I disbelief. I was just kind of in shock. I was like, what? I was like, I haven't applied. I haven't had time to apply. I wasn't thinking it'd be possible during my time here. And it was only a month in, and such a dream come true. I was so excited. And so by August, I started in Galaxy's Edge. I was fully trained and ready, and that became my home. Galaxy's Edge became my home. I'm so comfortable there. I love the costume. I love, like, all my friends are over there. It was just such a wonderful place. Wonderful place, wonderful community of cast. Just wonderful. And you're really immersed in it, and it's just crazy to me. So yeah, I got moved there mid-August, and then I was pretty much scheduled there the rest of my program, and I was completely okay with that. I think I honestly had, like, probably 2 shifts outside of Galaxy's Edge after that, and that was totally fine with me. I went back this past July, and I worked in the main park, so in the Hollywood area, a couple times, mainly because I really did want to try on the new costumes they have for PhotoPass. If you didn't see the old PhotoPass costumes, we looked like little mailmen. We had the white shirt and the little blue shorts, like the boat shorts. I feel like we had the same costume as the boat drivers around the parks. Those costumes, whew, not my favorite. But the Kiwi ones, we call them Kiwis. They have different names, but my friends personally, we call them the Kiwis. And so much comfier, the new ones. So comfy. Loved it. But then the rest of the time in July, I was determined to be in Galaxy's Edge because that was my happy place. And even in the heat, I chose like the hottest time of the year That was like the only time I could go get my hours during school, honestly, so I stayed for the full month. The question I get asked most of the time, like majority of my day in the parks, is, aren't you hot? Aren't you melting? Honestly, like, I feel cooler, like my body temperature feels cooler in the Galaxy's Edge costume, long sleeves and all, than in the Hollywood costume, the Kiwi costume, which is kind of crazy to me, but also I do feel protected much better from all three suns that are on Batu, if you get that reference. So it's just great. I love that costume. I love everything, and I've got Watto in my pouch. It's so fun. Anyway, a little rabbit trail. One of the best memories of my college program was the Fantasmic reopening cast preview. So Fantasmic was closed since COVID. I had never seen it in Orlando because it was obviously still closed when I went back. The first time I visited Disney World, it was the week before we visited that they had just lifted the mask mandate, so we didn't have to wear them around the parks, which was such a blessing because we went in July also, so that would have been rough. So they brought Fantasmic back when I was there in November, I believe. And anything that happens for cast previews, depending on which park you're in, you'll get early access to sign up for these things. So in this case, it was Hollywood Studios, because that's where Fantasmic is. I stayed up till midnight when this launched, and I managed to get a spot in the opening night for cast previews. So it was the first one, and I secured myself and 3 guests. So I brought 2 of my close friends, Victoria and Sam, and my DCP roommate, Anna. And that was just such a fun, magical night. We went around the parks a little bit. It was sunset. It was just beautiful. And we got dinner at ABC Commissary, and then we got in this line. The line wrapped all the way from Fantasmic's stage to the exit entrance of the park. Like, it was outside of the park. It was like, oh no, we're gonna like be at the end or in a bad spot. Maybe we won't get in. The place we got in, we were in the dead center, high enough up, but not like too high. And it was the perfect viewing spot. So that helped a lot. I got to experience it in that way, which was really cool. But the energy in the audience that night was like nothing else. People were going nuts. From the moment that spotlight went up and Mickey appeared, people crying, screaming. I screamed. I was going at it too, because Fantasmic is such a nostalgic show for so many people. It's all the classic old films, and it's just, something about it so good. Every time the princesses are out on their individual little boat moat things, floats, boat moat floats, that's when I start really crying, because that music just gets me, and it's so good. And then afterwards, when the lights went off and there was smoke everywhere and it was just kind of hazy, everyone was standing up. This night was full of people who loved Disney, loved this dream, loved this story, wanted to be there, wanted to work there. And that was really cool because the energy was different. And I remember going a couple weeks later when my family was in town and taking them, and we went right up front. And when Mickey appeared, I screamed so loud, and I was like the only one who screamed, and I was like, oh, this is a little different, because I kind of expected it to be that high energy for all of, like, every time, and it wasn't. It was not, and that was a little bit of a bummer, but it made me realize, like, how much more magical that one night was. I'm so thankful I was able to be there that night, and have my special friends with me and experience it with them, and that was just a big blessing. That was one of my favorite nights. Okay, that's my happy Disney College program story. I'm not gonna get into any of my unhappy stories. I'm gonna say one of my biggest regrets, probably my biggest regret during my college program, was near the end of it. In September, I had a really hard situation come up. It was work related. It was a bit disheartening and kind of affected the rest of my program. I think it was in September. It was September or October. There wasn't that much time left in my program, it felt like. But this work-related thing, I'm not going to say what happened, but it wasn't cool. I was lied to by someone above me. The person who did that is no longer at Disney, so it's not any fault of Disney. It's the person who was in power over me at the time. They're now gone, but what happened in that situation really set the tone for almost the rest of my program, to where I would go in my room and I would stay there, and I wouldn't leave my room for a long time. I didn't want to be out. I was just tired, and I felt like all the work I had put in, it showed me that even when you put a lot of work in, if the wrong person is in power and has power to keep you from getting where you want to go, they will use it, and they did use it. And at that point in my head, it was like, okay, what's the point of even trying to go further than this? And what's the point of this whole thing? I guess it really was just an experience for a one-time thing. It's been fun. When can I go home? And it was so disheartening. Honestly, I was so hurt by that, and it really did affect me. And there were nights I was working most nights. I'll get into that in a minute, but when I would get home, I wouldn't really want to go out either. Or in the mornings, I wouldn't want to go out. So it became where my program was just work. I wasn't making the most of it. I wasn't going out anymore. Finally, the one night I did go out, I was having a rough day, and work had ended, and I got off earlier than normal. The sun was still up. So I kind of pushed myself to get out of my room. The Disney College Program dorms are called Flamingo Crossings. Your rent comes out of your paycheck each week. With that rent, you get access to buses that will take you anywhere around the parks, which is so nice. I love the bus system. I'll get into that another time, but wow, I loved the Disney College Program Flamingo Crossings buses so much. So underrated. But I hopped on a bus and I went to Wilderness Lodge, and I was filming a reel. You can see it in my face in this reel in the beginning. I'm so not into it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why am I filming right now? Why am I leaving the house? And I went and I got food at Roaring Fork Wilderness Lodge. I love their quick service. And one, that made me feel better. Wilderness Lodge is the resort I go to when I was feeling homesick. So I was there a lot near the end of my program, especially because it's a lot like Oregon. I'm from Oregon, I get homesick because Florida and Oregon, opposite ends of the country. This was my first time living away from home. And so this place reminded me a lot of Oregon. Growing up, my parents always took us on road trips to see national parks on the West Coast, and we would stay at the national park lodges, or at least visit them, and that was such a big part of my childhood. The Wilderness Lodge is a lot like it. It was based off the national park lodges, so it just felt homey. It was an escape. It didn't feel like Disney, which was necessary. You're in such a bubble when you live at Disney that it's good to get out of that bubble. Even within Disney, at the resorts are a good way to do that because they feel like they're a change. But Wilderness Lodge is so relaxing. A lot of peace in nature and in the forest, and that's what Wilderness Lodge feels like. So I got my quick service. I walked around a bit. Oh, I got a cookie bar too. I got a little cookie bar to go. If you haven't had the cookie bars, whew, I think they're at all the resort quick services. They're like these chocolate bars with chocolate chips, M&Ms. Not like a chocolate bar. It's like a cookie, but it's in a square. Or is it a Mickey? Might be a Mickey. My mom made them growing up. So another reason I got it. Homesick. My mom makes these bars. And it's like coconut and M&Ms and chocolate cookie goodness. It's just wonderful, right? So I got one of those. And as I'm leaving, walking down to the bus stop, downpour. Like downpour, flood, downpour. It was sunny when I left. It was so nice. And then it was like pouring. I'm in like a tube top and these baggy, heavy jeans. And it was just pointless. I just started laughing. I couldn't do anything. I was soaked. So I went under the bus stop and I set my stuff down and I set up my camera and I filmed it. And I said, screw this. And I ran into the middle of the street. Don't recommend. Look both ways, but don't be dumb. This was a quiet little street, side street. And I just kind of spun around and I just stood there for a minute. And that was a big moment for me where I kind of woke up and was reminded, like, look at this life that you're getting to live. Look at all these blessings. Look at the rain. Look at... It was such a pivotal point in my program, and I'm honestly just realizing this, but I still look back at that, and I was smiling the whole bus ride home as it was raining. I was like the only person on the bus. We had a couple stops to pick up a few people, but I was just so joyful, and the life kind of came back into me. Being a part of something like the Disney College program is truly such a blessing, and I think we're so quick to miss that. But not many people get the opportunity to work at Disney World, live within the Disney World property line, like with access to the parks. I get so overwhelmed, honestly. Who gets to do that? Who can say they do that besides Disney College program? You know, you get to live in these beautiful apartments, you get free rides, you get free access to the Disney parks. Hello? And that was my life. And I had been sulking because I let one person within a huge company, one person, get me down and think that my dreams had no purpose and that was the end of them. And it's like, no, that's not me. Like, don't you know your God is bigger than that? I was just praising the Lord that whole night home. And from then on, I would try to get off early. I would go enjoy the sunsets again, go enjoy the amenities. I was hanging out with friends more. I was planning things, just getting out more. Because what an incredible experience. All that being said, the Disney College program is going to be what you make of it. There are people who go there just to party, to mess around, to get into the parks for free, and they're absolutely miserable because majority of your week you're working. You're not there. Like 5 out of 7 days you're working. And in my case, my role was usually around from 12 p.m. till closing, park close, which was usually around 9, or I was there an extra hour till 10:15. And so I didn't have many nights to go out and see fireworks or run around when it was finally cool enough or anything like that. It was go to work, go home, go to bed, get some rest, wake up. And this is where I messed up. I was so off my routine. I would get up at like 10 or 11, get out of bed, and then have an hour to get ready for school. Have an hour to get ready for work, get on the bus, and repeat the process. But I was often too tired to go to the parks in the morning before work because PhotoPass is like a physically demanding job. So you're working, you're bending down to get the little kids in front of the Millennium Falcon or with Minnie or Mickey to get that perfect shot. You're moving around, you're focused, you're talking to them, you're telling a story, you're making them laugh, you're having them pose. You know, so you're in the heat. So a lot of times I'd be too tired to go in the morning, and I would tell myself that too. And so I didn't really do much except for on my off days. And even on my off days, sometimes I would just stay home and rest. And that's where, like, I wish I took better advantage of where I was and the blessing that it was. Because I did at the beginning of my program, I did a lot more. But after that one thing, it just got to me and I was so upset over it. And I just let it get me down and I was homesick and I was so fixed on being somewhere else, being home, than where I was. I wasn't in the present. And anyway, I'm rambling. But that was the biggest regret. Dang, I've just discovered that my biggest regret wasn't exactly staying home. It was letting this person, this circumstance get me down, bring me so low into thinking that that's where I had to stay and there was no point. And that's where my career at Disney would end. But God turned that around. He sure did. I'm a Disney College Program alumni, cast member, and also a big Jesus lover, believer, proclaimer. I'm not here to shove it down your throats, but that's who I am. I'm not ashamed of it, so if you hear me talking about God or Jesus or say amen, now you have the backstory on that little info on that. Anyway, I don't know how long to have this episode go. Is that enough? My goal, honestly, is to have my friends on. It won't always be a video. There won't always be a video to go with the podcast because obviously right now I'm in Arizona, so I'm not where my cast member buddies are. The plan is to have just conversations with them, learn about their roles, and talk to them, talk about our experiences, exchange stories, laughs, things like that. But on the days where I can't get an interview or someone's busy, you might be stuck with me. And so we'll get into more stories like this and talk more about my college program memories. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so excited because obviously I'm not where I was during that time, and I've grown a lot since then, and that's why there's been such a gap between my program and this year. It has been a year and like 24 days. Yeah, a year and 24 days today since I left my college program, and I needed that time to get out of the Disney bubble, reset my mind, hit a little reset button, and figure out what's in store for the future, and this podcast is part of that, and I couldn't have done it a year ago, straight out of my program, because I was still confused, obviously, because I'm still figuring things out now, as we can see. There's not really a structure with episodes that are just myself, because it's just me talking, rambling on my experiences. There is structure with my guest episodes. I have specific questions, and it's going to be a fun time, but with this, obviously, as you've seen, it can go anywhere, and that's how I want it to be. Just real, authentic, good conversation. Tune in for my next episode. We will be having our first guest. So excited. These cast members I'm going to have on here, at least for now, I don't know what the future holds, but these are my close friends, as well as being cast members. They're some of the people I did not expect to bring out of something like the Disney College Program. Lifelong friends that I still love, talk to often, connect with all the time. I'm pretty picky with who I keep close to me, and these people are just They're cast members, but they're also just wonderful people. And I want to share them with you because these are the people who have shaped my life and gave me friendship and community on my program, and I'm so thankful for them. And I can't wait for you to meet them. You're gonna love them as much as I do. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The People It Takes, me being one of them. I would like to say a huge thank you to you guys because you are the people it takes to make my dreams a reality, to make this podcast a reality. So please, if you enjoyed this episode, hit that 5-star rating. Make sure to follow along. Tell me something. Ask me a question. If you guys have questions, in that box where it says, what'd you think of this podcast? Or if there's a Q&A, anything like that, pop in a question you want answered. Nothing crazy, please. You know the crazy Disney questions, so please, nothing like that. Don't try to get me fired. But, questions about the Disney college program, stories you want to hear, recommendations on things, whatever it is, give me a question so that next time when it is just me with y'all instead of a guest or a buddy, maybe I'll answer it. I'll be able to have a conversation about that. But I think I will end it there. Have a magical day. There's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. I'll see you guys next week. I have to go find Agave. She wandered off somewhere. I think she's under the computer. So I will go find her. Wish me luck. Bye, guys.